On Facebook, here we are, lovely. Right. Well, there we are. I'm just running round to the other side of the car, and hopefully you can see me on camera. And we're going to have a go at creating this as a continuous car drawing. You may or may not have seen what I've done. So this you're now, I think, 1040-ish in the series. I can confirm which one you are. I can pull up some of the images on here. So basically, I create all of my drawings in one continuous line without taking the pen off the paper. That's how I draw. So the entire initial outline is done without taking the pen off paper, and I rework it and go into it and whatnot. So I've been down at Goodwood Revival over the weekend doing kind of classic cars and commissions and whatnot. So yeah, it's been an eventful few days. So, but during the week I do one for a heritage classic car insurance customer, and you are that lucky customer today. So we're gonna have a little chat about your car whilst I draw it, and just making sure I've got all the things working. So yeah, I can quickly pull up some. Here are some of the ones that were done over the weekend. So you got a classic Mini there. So yeah, you are 1048 in the series, which is fun, which is good. So as I say, that was last week. So we had the Lotus Elite last week, and we had was at Goodwood. I did Morgan, Caterham. I did a kind of Citroen H2 van, a Dormobile, Aston Martin. So lots of other vehicles have been created, but obviously your Land Rover is the highlight of all of those to do. So that
or the Aston Martin.
Well, it's I treat all of the cars I draw equally. So there are no favourites. I enjoy drawing all of them. Okay, so. Yeah, being from Solihull, where Land Rover is built, I know a little bit about Land Rovers. I also wrote my dissertation on Land Rovers as well, so I've got a little bit of knowledge about them, only a little bit, but I got there's a little bit left in my head still about what I wrote about for my dissertation. So I could possibly bore you to death with how Land Rovers feature in films and the role they take to show the character in the films. That's what I wrote my. Yeah. And Land Rover is a very good brand because you've got Land Rover, the classic Defenders and the series vehicles. Yeah. And then you also got Range Rovers, which Range Rovers generally show baddies, and Land Rovers show goodies and adventure. And then Discovery show Discovery is generally America when they're showing like a particular lifestyle in America, as with Freelanders as well. So yeah, I can probably bore you to death about that. If we run out of things to talk about, I can talk about my dissertation because I can't remember what.
It's good, Ian. It's good timing because that's the same colour as the James Bond new movie. There's a series 3 in that.
Lovely.
Exactly the same colour.
Well, I'll claim it. I'll say it's exactly the same as that one. Right, so I'm going to start drawing. So as I say, once the pen goes down, I draw the entire outline without taking a pen off the paper, and then I'm going to rework the. So what colour? So it's a blue. It's kind of bluey green. It's kind of like it is blue, but it's more on the kind of the green side of blue rather than the kind of the dark side of blue.
Yeah, it's called marine blue. It's one of the original colours. So that have the dark green or greys, and this was one of the original colours.
Nice. Right. So I've got the pen now. So I'm going to start drawing that. Always start at by the windscreen and the A pillars. That's where you kind of start getting the pen down and getting the details in. So in terms of this vehicle, so. What's the age of it? How did ownership of it come? How did it come into your ownership? And what are some of the things you've been? Have you been to some of the Land Rover shows in it? What you've done it so far?
Well, I've not been to any of the Land Rover shows because it was in such a poor condition when I had it. It was a good runner, but it looked like it had been through the wars. So I've had it about 4 to 5 years. I got it from a dealer up in North Yorkshire. So I live up in Yorkshire. And I've just been looking for a while, looking for something that had a bit of character but wasn't necessarily really old, because I'm not an absolute purist on these sort of things. And this one had a galvanized chassis, even though some of the bodywork was in poor condition, and a slightly newer engine. And yeah, I just took it for a test run, and I thought, I love this. And it was for my 50th birthday. So we thought, okay, I'll treat myself to it, and took it away, drove it for, like I say, 4 or 5 years now. And then in January, I took it to a guy up in just near Massam, Sam Greenwood. And he's spent months now, big delays with COVID and everything like that. And just returned it to me probably about a month ago. So it's had a galvanized bulkhead, new one put in. It's been resprayed, rewired, overhauled generally on the engine, and just new seals, new doors, new windows, side panel windows in the back, because it was just a solid cab in the back before. So yeah, just making it a more pleasurable thing to drive. New suspension as well, because it was fairly horrendous. It was a real bone shaker. And people don't object now so much when we go out for dog walks. They realise it's not quite as uncomfortable as it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a bit of a, well, they were originally an agricultural vehicle. I mean, that's...
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing about them, is it, they were never built as a lifestyle vehicle or to be used anywhere other than in a field and herding sheep. And they were originated on Anglesey with the Wilkes brothers, and that's what they were. And then now they're obviously the opposite end of that with what they're producing now. But I think I do love a series vehicle. I think they've got so much character to them. I think they're awesome.
And they still, I mean, although that's nearly 50 years old now, when we do get snow here, which is less often than it used to be, but when we get bad weather, that's the car that I still take out, because if needs be, I can put it out there into 4-wheel drive or into low gear ratio, and it will get me pretty much anywhere. Sort of eventually. It's not the fastest thing, but it does get you there. And I've been driving around in the snow and I've seen other cars slide off, newer SUVs, and this one just keeps nice and steady, goes through the snow. It's still really good at that. But yeah, I've not taken it to any shows. I've got a few more things on the paint job, just some issues to get sorted out. And there's a few local shows around here. I'll probably take it to probably next summer. It's probably over past that period now.
Yeah, it's just the kind of the end of show season now. I'm just heading out. I'm heading out to Silverstone this weekend for the British Touring Car, and it is that event is, it just starts to get a little bit crisp in the morning, a little bit foggy, a little bit colder, and you're like, oh yeah, it's definitely the winter is coming, as they say.
And you certainly wouldn't want to be taking this car down to Silverstone or anywhere like that. It's I think I would drive it within about a 40-mile radius maximum, because it really is, it's not built for comfort or long journeys anymore. But yeah, it does the tip runs, it does dog walks, and it's just a good little fun utility vehicle to have around.
And do you get the quite famous? Do you have the Defender elbow? Do you have the slight kind of arm?
I think you find it's a legal requirement for this class of vehicle, and there's you get the Landy wave from other Landy drivers, and if you've got an old one like this, there's like a a hierarchy. The people in the newer ones have to acknowledge you first before you can acknowledge them. You know, like an officer on a ship.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if you're in a series one, you salute the series one, but a 90, you know, they'll salute you as a series three. I get the hierarchy there totally.
So just... and it's still a very basic vehicle. It broke down at the weekend. The accelerator cable snapped, and I almost got it working with a piece of baler twine. I just couldn't get quite the leverage to get it started and limp it home.
I mean, so, that is part of Landy ownership, though, isn't it? Is that it will break down. It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Right, there we are. There's beginnings of your Land.
I can't believe you did that, but in one straight.
Yeah. So started here, finished down here, the signature. So now that's the base image of your Land Rover.
Oh, that's great. That's absolutely brilliant.
So now to bring it to life with the colour and all that. So in terms of vehicle ownership, what was before this? Was it or was it always like, right, I want to own, this is another this is part of a series of Land Rovers around, or has this always been the aim to have a series Land Rover?
I've always had company cars, but most of my jobs have been international travel, a lot of UK travel. So I've done the corporate life, and I've had BMW 5 Series, Audi A7s, Jaguars, Saabs, which was my favourite car.
Oh, you do love a Saab. Was that a 9? Was that a 9.5? Was that a 9.9? Yeah. What era of Saab are we talking?
I had the very last version of the Saab 900, which I just loved. It just looked like nothing else on the road. And then I had a Saab 9.3 for about a year, and then I moved on jobs. And sadly, a new company didn't have Saabs on the list, which it was fairly unusual to get that as a company car. So yeah, I've had them in Mercs and stuff like that every 3 years, new company car, and they're all lovely cars. But when I was very young, still had black hair, I used to I worked in Nigeria as a VSO volunteer, and we were looking for transport for the school that I worked at. It was a third level education college, and we noticed at the Ministry of Health in northern Nigeria, there was 3 Land Rovers sat outside, sort of twisted. Some had been obviously run into trees, that sort of thing. But there was 3 of them there, and I thought we'd be able to get one of them working. And I got in contact with a mechanic at the British consul, and with permission from the Ministry of Health, they let us sort of salvage all the parts, get one working, and that then became the bus sort of transport for the school. It was one of the long wheelbase ones, so you could get, let's say, probably about 12, 13 people into the Land Rover.
So like a 130?
Yeah, that was it. You see, you know it better than I do.
Like I say, I wrote my dissertation on it. So it's one of those things that the knowledge of a Landy comes back to when we talked about it. I'm like, oh yeah, there's that one. And actually, it's not a 130; it's a 127 because they made it a 130. It's like you got the 88-inch became the 90, etc., etc. Because this is still, is it still 88-inch on the Series 3?
I'm assuming so. I'll have to defer to your knowledge. I should ask my next door neighbour. Her father was a designer for Land Rover, so he worked on these ones, sort of designing them. Even back, probably just after this, probably just as Defenders came in after the series ones. Yeah. But anyway, so we had this Land Rover. It had no electrics. And it was just a big solid beast of a car that I used to have. Take students out, used it for myself as well. And yeah, it was just a cool, fun thing to have. and go and see other volunteers in it, stuff like that. So it was just a cool, fun thing to have. And then at the end of the year, obviously, I handed it back. Now, I paid for the renovation myself, but I just handed it over to the school as I was leaving.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it was a good, fun thing, and I always sort of looked back and always wanted to have one. But I didn't grow up with Land Rovers. I can tell by my accent, the only Land Rovers around our place were owned by the army.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really that many to sort of covet. But yeah, and I live in the middle of the countryside. I'm living in North Yorkshire, so it kind of suits where I live as well.
Yeah, yeah, because that's a northern accent, isn't it?
It is, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, so just getting the so yeah, so in terms of how the purchase happened, so were you kind of trawling kind of Auto Trader, were you looking out for it, or did it appear? Yeah, we were like, all right, well, great, that's the one I want.
Yeah, it was kind of just trailing the websites, Auto Trader, Classic Car, all of them, and then I just came across a dealer up near Thirsk, and they had a reasonably good reputation. I knew it wasn't perfect when I bought it. They were selling it on behalf of a previous owner. But it was solid enough. Engine was good, and I thought, yep, we'll go for it. Especially it was having a solid chassis that kind of sold me on it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I just ran it for a couple of years. Only had one major sort of breakdown on it when the alternator batteries went. But outside of that, it's not really caused huge amounts of trouble. It's been a fun thing to have. But now that it's been the suspension's been sorted out, the bulkhead, etc., new tires, it just it drives much better. It's just a much more fun thing to have.
Yeah.
But shock absorbers that actually work as well. That's always helpful.
That always helps, I'd say. That's a bonus.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yeah, I've currently got a car going through restoration, so I can understand the kind of the process and time it takes for things to happen.
What's yours?
I've got a Vauxhall Chevette being restored. So a 1977 Vauxhall Chevette was my uncle's, and I. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean that again. That's something that sort of hits to my memory, because my father had a small garage in Ireland, and so that was like that and Fiestas, Escorts was the main cars that were coming in, getting service, etc. So
yeah, you don't see too many of them now because they rusted away.
Absolutely,
they weren't exactly well, cars of that era. They weren't looked after like they are now. Their cars weren't raptured, or they became always like throwaway objects almost. It was like they'd last a couple of years and then they'd rust, and then so the sills and it's had a complete body redone. So as the shows kind of slow down and I have a little bit more time, that's going to be the winter kind of project to get that on the road properly for next year, hopefully. So that's the aim.
That'll be cool. That'll be cool when it's done.
Yeah, it's having an MX-5 engine in it as well, so it's not having the original engine put into it. It's having a better engine put into it, so you can it's much more usable then as well. So
well, that's the same with this. It's a 2.5 diesel engine on it, which is not the original. But I'm not a purist. I'm sort of got it in the knowledge of it is what it is, and people add and do things to Land Rovers all the time. So it's it's just really to be expected.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like they're kind of like a base. It's almost like you have a landing, and then it's what you put onto it that makes that character, adds that thing to it. Is how you make it your own is the bits that are added on or changed or altered to it.
Well, when I bought it, it was a ragtop, so which are great fun, but it's not practical for me, not with dogs and kids. So that's why I got a cab put onto it, and that just works out better for us. But like you say, it's you very rarely see two identical because people will do them different. This one's got alpine lights as well as the side windows.
Yeah, because the Alpine lights are normally on the 110 version, aren't they? They're kind of at the back of the 110 is and on the Safari editions they have the Alpine lights as well.
That and that's where I think they got this from. But although it doesn't have the Safari lip on it, but yeah, so I have no idea where that came from. But it looks good. It lightens up the inside anyway.
Yeah, a bit more interior light for when you're crossing the fields, or do you do a bit of green laning or anything like that, or?
I might think about it now that the suspension's been sorted, but it was so bad. You just couldn't. It would have been horrendous. So I think there's a guy in the next village. He does a bit of that. I might go out with him in the full knowledge that he might have to drag me out of somewhere at some point.
Yeah, it's certainly. Yeah, I've done a little bit of off-roading in the past, and it's certainly a bit of fun. Yeah, a bit of fun. I imagine in an old school land it'll be a lot of fun as well. So it's without all the modern tech to help you go down hills and whatnot.
I've taken the kids on a cross country driving centre, and that was good just to see how good they were with controlling the landing, getting the speed right, everything like that. They were going down some unbelievable inclines, and I wouldn't put my Land Rover through that, but using the Centre's Land Rovers is great.
Yeah, you're like, well, I could do it to somebody else's. That's absolutely fine.
Absolutely.
I like the thought process there. Absolutely. So it's just getting the details now in the wheels. Just adding a bit of that cream in the wheels as well.
Yeah.
And working around that. So, and obviously it's insured through Heritage as well. So how long have you been a Heritage customer?
Ever since I got it, we looked online. Obviously, did the hunt around. One of the problems we found is that for older vehicles like this, the sort of competitors to Heritage didn't really understand what it was they were insuring. So things like a change in engine size, they just couldn't really get their heads around that.
Yeah.
So we came across Heritage. The price was reasonable. The cover was good, and we've stayed with them ever since.
Nice.
Only do about 3,000-4,000 miles a year in it. So, sorry, I'm just going to switch a light on here because it's gone very dark. I'm in our gym. Yeah. So, they've been very good. Thankfully, not had to use them for anything, and hopefully it stays like that.
Yeah, good. That's that's the main thing. Yeah, that is. Yeah, that you've had a good experiences. That is the main thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I have.
So just add in got a bit of the door latch into there as well, and then vent, and I'll get that added and the indicator down there as well. So is it now how you want it? Is there anything else you want to do to it, or is it going to stay like this for a while now?
The only thing we're going to do is the checker plate over the wheel arches on the front. That's going to come off, and we're going to just put straight new metal ones on because the paint's not adhering properly to that. They haven't been able to clean it. And I'm just thinking, well, we'll just put the metal, pure metal checker plate there, and it'll look nice like that. But other than that, and replacing accelerator cables and little things, niggles that have gone wrong with it. No, I'm just going to leave it pretty much as is. It's because it looks nice now. The paint job on the main panels is good, and it just it's not something that I'm going to sort of spend any more money on. I think I'm being told not to spend any more money on it, basically.
Yeah, that is always the problem. Is the money pits that they become is always,
Yeah.
and it's just always one more thing. It's, I should really do that as well. And yeah,
Well, what I'm hoping is that what we've done now, because it's got bulkhead and chassis galvanised, new paint job, engine overhauled, that should be future-proof for a good while. And for what we use it for, need it. I'm not going to take it down onto the grasslands of Africa, but mainly because I'll probably never actually get there. But it's good for what I need. The one big thing I would do, and I mentioned this to Nick from the insurance company, was that I would never take it up Sutton Bank in North Yorkshire again. It's got something like a 1 in 8 climb or something like that. It's a huge hill. And there must have been a tailback of about 2 miles of traffic swearing at this Land Rover going up at 25 miles an hour up the hill.
That was an error. That was an error. That wasn't a planned expedition.
Bizarrely, it was. I just didn't realise how crap it would be going up that hill. I will keep it to reasonable hills in future.
Sounds a good plan to me. That sounds well. I'm very nearly there. Just doing kind of the tweaks and those final bits to it. But thank you so much for chatting to me about your Land Rover. Really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
And so I'll be down at Silverstone this weekend, and then upcoming Bicester Scramble in a couple of weeks' time. Before indoor events, I think indoor events start. Well, all going to plan. Touch wood. Indoor events will be allowed to happen. So there might be a few.
Cool. Well, one of my neighbours is going to be down at Silverstone. He's racing in the Ginetta.
Oh right, cool.
So him and his son, they're on the amateur side of that.
Yeah, well, send them out. I'll be in the trade stand, trade area at Silverstone. So literally on the back end of Woodcote, in between all the main trade stands, they can pop over. Can always draw their Ginetta. That's always something I could do. Done a few Ginettas in this series, so always like to do a few more. So
well, Ian, I'll drop them a text. Just tell them to pop over. So they're called the Mangians. So they're good guys, and hopefully they'll get some drones done.
Yeah, well, I'll be there all week from Friday onwards. I've done a basic setup down there. I'm at an event tomorrow, and then I'm down at Silverstone from Friday. So it'll be there. It'll be nice, and I think the weather's meant to be all right. So it'll be nice to be down there and enjoying a bit of late summer sun, as they might say. So.
I hope you have a great time there.
Well, I fingers crossed. So hopefully you can see that on the screen. There is your Land Rover as a continuous car drawing.
That is absolutely gorgeous. I love that. Absolutely love it. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Well, it's been lovely to chat. I'll keep an eye on the James Bond film for an identical one that will feature in there. Going back to films, I could also tell you that in I think it was Point Break, Keanu Reeves has a Series 3 Land Rover as well, and he had it in the film because he wanted it. He wanted his own car in the film, so that's why the Series 3 Land Rover features in Point Break. You'll find it in there, and many other. There's so many films that feature Series Land Rovers. I think Italian Job definitely has a Series Land Rover in it.
Yeah.
Because that's what and then every Bond movie from day dot pretty much has Land Rovers in it. So I'm looking forward to seeing the movie when it comes out in a couple of weeks' time, hopefully. So, but I'll get this posted online. I'll send you an image of it of showing what it looks like. So thank you so much for joining me this evening, and hopefully we'll see each other soon.
Absolutely. Ian, thank you very much. A real pleasure.
Pleasure.
And I love the drawing. Thank you.
Cheers, buddy. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye. There we are. There he is, the Land Rover. Thanks very much for joining me this evening for continuous car drawing, both on Instagram and on the Heritage Classic Car Insurance Facebook page. So I'm going to say goodbye for now on Instagram and also on Facebook.